Hey guys, welcome back to F1 Hub, and today we're going to review the Spanish Grand Prix. So let's go straight into it with FP1 in a session that was topped by Lando Norris. The Prix McLaren himself looked extremely confident around Barcelona. That said, that didn't stop him from going off the track moments later, going into the gravel, putting his McLaren into the gravel. As you can see, not really much happened in FP1 except Fernando Alonso went off and brought out a red flag with damage to his front wing, thus being scattered around the circuit. There was also Kick Sauber's DRS flapping. It's far too much for their liking. I mean, that's the only way they're going to get points this year in Formula 1 in 2024, so I could understand their desperate measures. So moving on then from the bonus of FP1, then let's go into something far more interesting. And as a Lewis Hamilton fanboy, Lewis Hamilton top in FP2 was exactly what I needed after a torrid 2024 campaign. But don't worry, Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes will somehow find a way to mess it up come qualifying, and he'll be 4 tenths down on George Russell. Lando Norris continued his love for the gravel in Formula 1 this year. In at least Barcelona, that is. Fernando Alonso going off into the gravel as well. Again for the second time. FP3, however, was topped by Carlos Sainz, who had been in the top 3 consistently so far and looked at least a pole threat. Come on Ferrari, don't do it 2022 and mess it up then. However, his teammate Charles Leclerc was doing a good enough job of doing just that, colliding into Lando Norris in an incident that should have got a penalty in my opinion. But that's the FIA, and you know the FIA were always right. Right? Also in the battles going on in Free Practice 3, we had a lovely little incident. Forgot Lando Norris went off into the gravel for the 3rd time all weekend long, and it concluded a session, every single session so far. McLaren went into the gravel. Lando Norris for the 3rd time all weekend long so far. Lewis Hamilton had also run wide and also had his own incident with Lance Stroll. Another one that easily should have got a penalty in my view. The fact that they didn't just shows how the penalties do need to change, especially since if they're not giving them out fluently enough and more confidently enough. The FIA really need to change that. Let's go into qualifying then, and it was looking as if Logan Sargent would be out. Dead last along with Albon, Tsunoda, Ricciardo and Kevin Magnussen too. Magnussen keep getting infuriated that everyone keeps impeding him on his last couple of runs. Disappointment for Kevin Magnussen there, along with the 2 RBs who were a very big shock. Come Q2 though, and the biggest shock was that both Alpines finally made it through. Alonso, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Stroll and Joe were all out, and Joe Granyu has never outqualified Valtteri Bottas at any sprint quality or sprint this year. Fun fact. Come Q3 and we needed a McLaren into the gravel, except it wasn't Lando Norris and it was Oscar Piastri instead. So that was a shock to me, and I nearly died of a heart attack. I nearly died of a heart attack after run 1s when Verstappen was dominating until Lando Norris somehow got a lap that somehow beat Verstappen. However, Lewis Hamilton was not done yet either and was within a 10th of Verstappen's pole lap. Could Lewis Hamilton actually outqualify George Russell for once? But he came across the line for Mercedes and set a lap that was good enough for P3, and George Russell himself couldn't beat him. And as you can see, I was so happy that my top 2 favourite drivers were first and 3rd. So then let's go into the race start then, and I can't actually show you the full proper footage, so I decided to record it myself. And Lando Norris completely messed up the start, and Max Verstappen had an amazing run to the inside. However, George Russell had an even better run and went round the outside and took the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. From there, we thought George Russell would go off into the distance as Verstappen tried to fight back. Hamilton had also messed up the start, so as you can see, finding ways to slit my throat, let's go back into the race, and George Russell lost the lead straight away. That's great news for Mercedes then, isn't it? With Verstappen dominating the race once more, smashing George Russell. And that was it. Battle for victory was over and was now up to Russell to try and keep 2nd, which was actually doing pretty well. Going on, meanwhile, the 2 Ferraris collided, and, you know, maybe not quite as dramatic as 2019, but it was close enough to generate some headlines, as Sainz and Leclerc's relationship finally faded away. I think so, but Carlos Sainz was in the wars anyway, with the man who'd put him in the predicament in the first place, Lewis Hamilton. They banned wheels, certainly shouldn't have got a penalty anyway, and I'm glad it didn't, but maybe that's a bit of biasness in there, and it's not British biasness either. So that contact between Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton then meant Carlos Sainz fell down the order. Meanwhile, Lando Norris finally muscled his way past George Russell on lap 35 of 66. However, it took him so long to do so, he kept staying out to try and make it a bit of a battle for the win. After all, Max Verstappen was getting a little bit too more comfortable. Well, who wasn't comfortable though was George Russell, when Lewis Hamilton got past and up to 3rd. I was shocked that Lewis Hamilton had been capable of doing such a thing in 2024. So I was dreaming of a Lewis Hamilton podium, but somehow Mercedes would turn his engine down, wouldn't they? So with Hamilton now in third, Alex Albon fell asleep in Williams. He was so bored of his awful Williams car and decided to go into the gravel and find a way to get out of his Williams contract. It didn't go well though, and he finished in 18th. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen held off at charging Lando Norris for the win. So all of the battle at the end was between Charles Leclerc and George Russell, in a battle to see who would take fourth. It went in George Russell's favour, but I was delighted to see Lewis Hamilton finally take a podium after beating George Russell by 5 seconds, despite being on soft tyres to the hards. However, Hamilton was the majority of the quicker Mercedes all the way through, so that means Hamilton will come back in Austria and I'll qualify him again. We don't know that for sure, but that's it for today's video, and if you do enjoy it, you can check out my other videos, but that's it. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.